All right, let's get right into this real quick so you understand exactly what's going on. In this video, we're going to be talking about a potential legal supplemental payment that will be going to Americans in the future. Here's kind of the bottom line when it comes to this structure. There was a massive, absolutely horrific breach that occurred as a result of a company basically not doing what they were supposed to do. And as a result of that, unfortunately, many Americans are in a situation where at the end of the day, they had their information stolen. Not just Americans, but UK, Canada, a lot of individuals. So the bottom line with this particular situation is I'm starting to see the potential for an actual stimulus payment, not from COVID, but rather from specifically a legal lawsuit. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly, and then we'll be talking about exactly how Biden could potentially push for a very quick settlement situation to get a stimulant check going for Americans to kind of lighten the mood on his presidency at the very end of his 4 years. Let's get into this real quick. There was an article by CBC.ca. Florida company faces multiple lawsuits after massive data breach. Records may include names, home addresses of people in Canada, US, and UK. Let's get into it. This is by Kevin Mayman. CBS News additionally posted August 16, 2024. A Florida-based company is facing multiple proposed class actions after a massive data breach that one suit claims leaked nearly 3 billion files containing personal data on people in Canada, the US, and the UK, including names and home addresses. Now, one of the first suits to be reported on this class action was filed on August 1st by California resident Christopher Hoffman in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida. It alleges, which was Fort Lauderdale, it alleges that a hacking group called USDOD posted a database on April 8th called National Public Data on a dark web forum claiming to have the personal data of 2.9 billion individuals and attempted to sell it for 3.5 million US, which, as you guys know, is not on the .coms, it's on the .onions, which is, of course, where you go and get your wonderful dark web information. Tech site Bleeping Computer reported that a hacker then leaked a version of the stolen data for free on a hacking forum on August 6th. Remember, it was originally stolen in April. During the April period, it was on the dark web, and then at that point, it was basically sold to interested parties. Then August 6th, Bleeping Computer hacked it from that group and basically put it onto the web for free. At least 6 complaints have been filed against the company, National Public Data, this month. Now, the data was allegedly stolen from Jerico Pictures Inc. Jerico Pictures Inc., that's an important name, which does business as National Public Data, as Florida-based company that does background checks. So just so you guys know, the U.S. works with basically private entities. And that private entity went ahead and essentially created a system that could go ahead and do quick background checks. You know, they can do all kinds of things. They can search photos online. They can go ahead and find you with, lots of find command searches in different ways. They can do all that stuff. So they had access to this information. And as a result of that, what happened, unfortunately, is that this Jerico Pictures Inc. was not able to keep the record, properly sealed. Now, this information is held in trust as a, giant hard drive, or it's really a giant database. It's held in trust for the Social Security Administration. It's held in trust for the IRS. It's held in trust for, the U.S. Treasury. All these places hold it in trust. So unfortunately, a hacking of this information is very similar to and is directly related to the hacking of these federal agencies. Hoffman says in the suit the company obtained and stored his data without his consent because people don't knowingly give their data to the company, and it is hard for any individual to know whether they have been affected by the breach. Which, just to clarify real quick, there are companies out there that are constantly collecting information on you. Constantly. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter how much you live in a cave, they know where the cave is, they know where the bathroom is in the cave, all that stuff. They're constantly collecting images of you, constantly collecting information on you. The suit claims the company has still not provided any notice or warning to Hoffman or other people affected by the breach, which is in violation of a couple of laws, but most importantly, an executive order on behalf of the President of the United States, which we'll be covering tonight. It's 55 pages of executive order, so it's going to take us a little while to get through it. In fact, Upon information and belief, the vast majority of class members were unaware that their sensitive personal information had been compromised and that they were and continue to be at significant risk of identity theft and various other forms of personal, social, and financial harm, it says. Richard Rogerson, founder of cybersecurity firm Packet Labs, says the alleged magnitude of the breach is quite scary and will make it much easier for fraudsters to pull off scams using stolen identities. Quote, "I've never seen a breach at this scale," said Rogerson. "This is the kind of uncharted territory, okay, that they're basically now in." Think about it. They've never had this many billion records stolen. Like stolen, like this many human beings. Everybody's out there now. There's no bringing it back. It's out there. National Public Data confirmed the breach on Tuesday in a statement on its website, which on Friday appeared to be inaccessible. The statement said the incident is believed to have involved a third-party bad actor that tried to hack into data in late December 2023, with potential leaks of certain data in April 2024 and summer of 2024. The information the company suspects of being breached contains names, email addresses, phone numbers, and social security numbers and mailing addresses and auxiliary names of individuals. National Public Data's website says its services are currently used by private investigators, consumer public record sites, human resources, staffing agencies, and more. The company did not respond to a request for comment. So, they don't know yet exactly how the breach occurred. Some states require companies to report data breaches to their attorney general offices, but security company McAfee said it has not found any filings with state attorney general. The Florida Attorney General's office has not been notified of the breach. It told CBC in an email. The lawsuit states it's not clear exactly when or how the breach occurred. This means there's like gross negligence here. Like they screwed up and then they screwed up the notification process, and we don't even know what's been going on with the attempt to try and recapture this information. Okay, the AT&T data breach affected nearly all customers after info downloaded to a third-party platform, which was minuscule compared to the level of this hack. Quote, "This data will continue to haunt us for a while because a lot of this data is very static and it's not going to change over time," Rogerson said. Quote, "If you think about security controls like a fence, it lowers the fence from a 10-foot fence down to a 2-foot fence. You can walk over that fence. It makes it a lot easier to pull off fraud attacks." Hoffman claims in the suit that his identity theft protection service alerted him in July that his personal information had been compromised as a direct result of the National Public Data breach and was found on the dark web. Law firm Schubert, Junkier, and Kolb, which said on Monday it is investigating the breach, wrote in a blog on its website that the data goes back at least 3 decades. 3 decades of data, okay? Cliff Steinhauer, director of the Information Security Engagement at the National Cybersecurity Alliance, a nonprofit that promotes online safety, says while this type of data has been leaked before, the difference is that now it's all in one place. Quote, "I think it may surprise many people that these companies exist and are allowed to collect and store that data, and even worse, they aren't required to meet certain security criteria in order to do so," he said. Steinhauer says the nearly 3 billion files in the 277 gigabyte dump appear to include incomplete records, duplicates, and records for people who are now dead, explaining how the number is significantly greater than the population of Canada, the US, and the UK combined. Which is interesting because, I mean, think about that. They didn't just get everything. They got the old records too. They got duplicate records in there. This was realistically the keystone of all data collection on individuals on the basic information you need for them. It's like hacking every single credit card company and every single bank and pulling the basic info details on people for 3 different major countries. Just keep that in mind. It is not yet known whether or to what degree the company may have been negligent in protecting its data, but Steinhauer questions why it was storing so much personal information for so long. All right, so here's basically the thing that you need to do. He says everyone should assume their information has been compromised and has several suggestions to protect your money and personal information. Keep your security software updated on your devices. Make your passwords complex and at least 16 characters long. Use a password manager to save those passwords and generate new ones. Use a monitoring service that will alert you if your personal information has been found on the dark web. Enable multi-factor authentication to add a layer of protection against fraudsters. Use a service to set up monitoring for your credit reports. Be on alert for phishing and other scams, which tend to proliferate when news breaks about large data break-ins. Now, here's the thing. Here's where Biden comes into this, okay? Let's go through this real quick so you got a better understanding as to what's going on just real quick before we go into how the federal groups will deal with this, there's a couple of things you need to know. There's ways that you can establish legal grounds to go against basically a company that has essentially lost data that was tied to the federal government. There's breach of contract, there's negligence, there's violation of state and federal privacy laws, there's consumer protection laws, and then, of course, invasion of privacy against the Constitution. Now, with that said, class action lawsuits, that's what everybody uses in these situations because it's so massive. You'll all end up being part of it to some degrees, so long as you can basically, be accepted into it, or if they require it, potentially show harm that resulted from it, which, just so you know what a plaintiff must prove. The company had a duty to protect their private information. The company breached that duty. The breach directly caused harm to the plaintiff, and the plaintiff suffered actual damages as a result of the breach. Then you can get damages like compensatory damages, statutory damages, punitive damages. That's when they really screw up. And I think that's probably applicable here because they didn't tell anybody what happened. And injunctive relief. Okay. Those are the different types of options. Now, there is trial or settlement. Might go to mediation, might go to arbitration, might go to litigation, can settle at any point throughout the process. However, here's what's likely to happen. None of that stuff through the traditional court system. I think it will be picked up by, you guessed it, the Federal Trade Commission. As you know, in 2017, Equifax, right? Equifax, they had a big whoops, a huge whoops. Not as big as this one, but a big one nonetheless. Equifax data breach settlement. Important settlement update. The settlement administrator has begun sending out payments for out-of-pocket losses, time spent claims, and other cash benefits. You will get your payment in the method you choose by check, prepaid card, or PayPal payment. Here's the bottom line. In September of 2017, and we're mirroring off of this one because this is like a big breach, a big hack, a big leak, if you will. Not as big as the current one. The current one's just epic. The current one's, it's everything. You know what I mean? It's everything. It's like the Rosetta Stone of privacy information for all these different people. Like, it's something you would expect to see on like the Blacklist, TV show where they're like, who has the magic list? This is the magic list. In September of 2017, Equifax announced a data breach that exposed the personal information of 147 million people. The company has agreed to a global settlement with the Federal Trade Commission, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and 50 U.S. states and territories. The settlement includes up to $425 million to help people affected by the data breach. The deadline to file a claim was January 22nd, 2024. The settlement administrator continues to review the issue benefits for identity theft and fraud claims related to the breach. Even if you do not file a claim, you can get certain things included with it. But the bottom line is this, okay? I believe we are seeing the entrance opportunity of President Biden to go ahead and push for expedited adjudications, then seek attachment for the Federal Trade Commission to go ahead and step in and push for there to be a settlement where basically Jerico Pictures, along with the other groups involved that allowed this actual breach to occur, that they will have to go ahead and pay out a massive sum of money, okay, that will ultimately, as a result of it, be just like a stimulus to most Americans, if not potentially all. Here's why this would be a stimulus. The idea is basically this. When it comes to money being paid to you, whether it's a COVID payment or it's some financial strain payment or it's some financial assistance loan payment, in this case, a breach of nearly every single American's social security number, name, alternate name, phone number, address, etc. In this instance, something this big could equate to basically having this federal group have a settlement where they go ahead and say, okay, every American is getting this much money. And if President Biden can push hard enough and push fast enough, he can get a settlement worked out with all agreements and groups. And then at the end of his presidency, which is certainly going to bolster VP Harris's opportunity to get voting potential, he'll be able to go ahead and potentially get them to pay out a check to every American. Now, let's say they pay out a check to every American and the check's only $100, the check's only $300, the check's only $600, whatever. it doesn't matter. It's still a stimulus in its form because it's stimulating the Americans considering the harm that was committed against them by this massive hack and leak of information. That is what I would say would be the ultimate move that Biden could go ahead and do. And legally, he's lined up to potentially have it set up so that the whole path of this thing for VP Harris, he can be promising a certain amount of potential money. And then as a result of that, he can go ahead and potentially, even after the election, win or lose for Harris, he can say, you know, we got you this money. The Democrats did this for you. It's smart. And that's probably where this is going to go. It's also going to go in the direction of them having to create new digital identification systems for you. You know, it could be a pill that you swallow. It could be an injection. It could be a fingerprint. It could be a palm print. It could be a facial scan. It could be any of those things. But the point is, this is very important. The point is, they need a new identification system for all Americans now, because the master list, the ultimate list rather, is officially out there. And so the bottom line is, in my opinion, they're going to have to come out with something that a lot of people are going to hate, because that new thing is going to be even more government control right on top of you. All right, I will catch you at the next video. I will be doing basically the next video on how the Social Security Administration reacted to this situation. We'll go ahead and catch up shortly, 5 minutes from now. Please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe to this video. Also, head over to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Throw some stars up there. They help me make the videos and continue to make them. With that said, if you want to ask me questions, I go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but it's more likely going to be Mondays and Thursdays in the future. If you need to hire me for an hour, there's a little button below. You go ahead and fill out the little mini contract, and then I put you on my hearing calendar for 1 hour. I'll catch you a little bit later, and I will see you in about 5 minutes. See you soon. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.